everyone. Sorry, just getting comfortable here. Welcome to Hey Workshops. I'm Louise Crammond and I am, well, my official title is Creative Director apparently. So, welcome tonight. Am I on a bit skew with? I'm not quite sure if I'm quite straight or not. No, let me just straighten the camera. There we go. Let's get that. Is that a bit better, everyone? I think I was a little bit skew with for a minute there. So, tonight we're going to be making the rag wreath, and I can see we've got a few online already. Fantastic. So, what do you need to make the illuminated rag wreath? So, you're going to need a pair of scissors, or you can use a rotary blade and cutting mat. But I'm using an upcycled piece of fabric, so my fabric tears really well. So I didn't need that. You will need a 10-inch floristry wreath. You can get these from Boys, you can get them from a florist. So usually, this is a 10-inch one, which is, what's 10 inches? 12 centimetres, 12.5 centimetres, something like that. So, I think, no, it's not, it's more than that, isn't it? 12 is 30, so it's around about 25 centimetres. So you can get these in Boys, Hobbycraft. They're usually about 50p to £1. Don't get one larger, particularly if this is your first attempt, because it will take a long time to do. This rag wreath will take, depending on the fabric that you use, between an hour and 2 hours to make. There's no sewing, there's just some tying and cutting, and there's no gluing either, and you'll have a lovely illuminated wreath. So you need your, just with two rims as well, 2 circles. So you need your wire floristry ring. You will need a set of LED lights. Now there must be LEDs, because for safety reasons you need them to stay at a low temperature. These are about £2.50, and I find these 20 light strings are about perfect, and these take 2 AA batteries. I am going to be experimenting at some point over Christmas. I've got these. Now these are the wire lights that are you finding in a lot of things now, and they just have the tiny little lights. In fact, if I turn that on, can you see that? No, I'll have to pull the tab out. There we go. So, wow, that looks really bright on there, doesn't it? And they're just tiny little lights. So, but I'm using a set of these, and I'm using this cool white. I find the multicoloured ones are good, or if you like the warm white. Depends on the colour of the wreath that you're making. So you've got lights, you've got a wreath, you've got a pair of scissors. You will need some fabric. Now, it takes around about ½ metre of fabric to do this for a 10-inch ring. And you can use any fabric you want, but the best fabrics to give you the best results are voile, crystal organza or chiffon. What I will say about chiffon, it takes a lot, and you'll need probably more for 2 meters. If you've got some old voile curtains, they're absolutely perfect because they're quite stiff. And I found myself the crystal organza, if you're going to buy fabric, is really good. But you can use cotton. I'm actually using, if for anybody who watched me do the draft excluders, I used an old quilt. I took the cover off the wadding, and I'm actually using this, and it's like a really soft, papery, non-woven fabric that's got a slight fluffy feel, but you can see it's translucent. The best fabrics either need to be transparent, translucent. You can even do this with carrier bags. They look really nice with carrier bags, particularly if you get the right colours. So that will give you a basic rag wreath. Oh, and a piece of ribbon to hang it from as well. You can use anything. Often, you know, the ribbons you cut out your top, they're the perfect size. I just happen to have some Christmas ribbon, so I'm going to be using that. Now you can decorate it as well. So I'm going to try tonight, I've got some pine cones. that have just got some thin jewellery wire. You could use fuse wire wrapped around the bottom so I can attach it to it. I've also, of course, got one of my favourites, the mushrooms. Can you see my sock gnomes are still sat in the corner there? And I've even got, this was a cat toy. The cats haven't played with it, to be fair. I've just put some wire around that. So I'm just going to play around with the things that I might use. This is really good to use up odd Christmas decorations. You can make big bows. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to make a tassel because tassels are so on trend at the minute. And I've got some of this lovely silver glittery yarn. And this was from a pound shop. I think I got 3 for £2. But it was a couple of years ago. You know me and my stash, I can find just about anything in there. So I'm going to use that to create a tassel. And it might be that in the end, I don't put any of that on, I just put the lights on and leave it as that. But we'll see, won't we? Oh, the one other fabric that you can really use that makes the most amazing white wreaths is net curtains. So if you've got some old net curtains, they are absolutely perfect. So just to quickly recap, 10-inch wreath, fabric, scissors, ribbon for a hanging loop, and a set of LED lights, battery operated LED lights. Everything else after that is totally up to you, and you can do it however you want. So what you need to do is take your fabric and cut it into strips around about 2 to 3 inches wide. That's 5 to 7 centimeters, which is around about this. Now that's width wise, and then just cut long strips, fold it over on itself like so. Shall I just get the fabric? I'll show you. It's easier. I've just got to go off the shop a minute. So this is the old quilt cover. I didn't even have to cut this because what it does, and you can do this with some fabrics and with others you can't. Where am I up to? This fabric tears, and it tears evenly, which is essential really. So once you've found your edge, which of course I can't now, so you can see I can just tear it. And what I do with this, I tear it wider and then cut it again. So I just tear it down. So I've got a really long strip. You can do this with a lot of cotton fabrics as well. You can also do it with organza and voile. But if you're going to tear it, make your strips wider to start with, because you get a frayed edge, so you lose a lot of the thickness. And you get a nice sort of fuzzy edge, which I really like on them. But you can cut, or you can do it with a rotary cutter. So this is quite wide. So then just down the middle again. And you know what? If you're doing this and it's not exactly right, it doesn't really matter, because this is yours, and by the time you've tied everything on, it will look amazing anyway. Now I found this is the right length for the strips. Now the strips need to be around about 6 to 8 inches. So that's 15 to 18 centimeters. Don't go any longer than that or it can get too floppy. And if you've got a very fine fabric, hi everyone, hi Debbie, hi Lorraine, hi Di. Nice to see it. Di's made these. In fact, Di is the one who made the most beautiful white rag wreath out of nets and put blue lights in it. Really inspiring. So going back to this. So it's around about 2 to 3 inches. So that's 5 to 7 centimeters width. The length is 6 to 8 inches long, and that's 15 to 17.5 centimeters. Okay, if it's a very fine fabric, make sure you cut it wide but a little bit short, because otherwise it'll be very floppy. Oh, you still got it, Di? Oh, it's gorgeous. So what I will do with this, I am going to fold it first. And just remember, it's not an exact science. No one's failing you here or marking you. It's about being creative and making something. And I'm just going to even off that bottom there. I've got no scissors left after putting up all the trees. And then fold it in half. Okay, that's going to be a bit small. So I'll do it in thirds. There we go. That's about right. And then I'm just going to cut it in half down there to get the right width. And then just cut through the loops at the top. And you can see not all mine are exactly the same width. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be exact. I love the feel of this. And because I washed the quilt before I used it, it smells of fabric conditioner. It's lovely. So I'm going to have a nice smelling wreath. That's the other thing you can do, you know. You can actually put in things like cinnamon sticks. If you want to have a nice smell. You can actually buy them. I think, is it Aldi that's got those scented sticks that you put on your trees as well. You can add those if you want a nice smelly wreath. So to start, so make sure you've got plenty of those cut, and I'd say, depending on the fabric, at least 1/2 metre to 1 metre. So you're going to start with the inner circle and you're going to work all the way around, because it's much easier to do it this way. Trust me, I've made enough of these. I know from experience, if you try and do it sort of like this, it just doesn't work. Now, the other thing with this, if you want to use a different colour on the inside to the outside, you can. I've also done it where, particularly with crystal organza, I've used shades of silver, white, grey and kind of blues. Someone wanted a wreath that was like, had a Frozen theme. You know what people are like, what the kids are like about Frozen still. And it was lovely. And the crystal organza has a shimmer to it as well. So it is really simple. There's nothing complicated to this at all. Just take your strip. So 1 strip at a time. And just take it around into the inner circle. So make sure it's even. And just tie a knot. You only tie 1 knot. You don't need to tie any more than that. Okay. And then just work your way around. Now you might find this, I'm working with this flat so you can see what I'm doing. But you might find it easier. I tend to sit with it in my lap and work like this. But you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. So find a position that's comfortable for you. And then just tie. Now, if you're doing a pattern, I've seen people, I mean, these wreaths can be made at any time of the year for any kind of decoration. Who did I make? Someone did a black and white wreath, and they did it out of black bin bags and white bin bags. Is it Hull KR? I'm not very good with the football and rugby. Someone will have to put me straight on that. And it looked amazing. It was actually for to put on a grave for a young person's grave who'd been a big fan of that team, and they wanted something that could stand the weather. So we worked together, and it was gorgeous and it was lovely and it lasted. So you can see now I'm just pushing these up. The closer you have the knots together, the fluffier it will be, because once you get the other layer on, it's going to push it forward. Okay. So this is why, because you can see it's laid over that edge there. Work the inner circle. If you do the outer one and try to go to the inner one, it's always more difficult in my experience. But that's not to say that I'm right about how you want to make it. This is yours and you do it however you want. So continue around, and you can see some of these are different thicknesses. Honestly, it won't matter. And this is the kind of thing you can sit whilst you're doing the TV, watching the TV, not doing the TV. The kind of thing you can do while you sat watching the TV. Now I've got one that I've prepped because you don't want to sit watching me do this for an hour, do you? So if you've got any questions so far on anything, just pop it in the box below and I'll answer them as they come up. Do remember there's a slight delay, so I will get to them as soon as I can. So continue all the way around on that inner circle. And then you're going to start on the outer circle. Okay? So you can see now it's looking very different, isn't it? And I have, oops, some crystal organza there. So I have got, oops, this much left to do. So I'm going to do that whilst I'm talking to you, so you can see what I'm going to do, how I'm going to decorate it and finish it off. It gets a little bit more fiddly when you're doing this, but again, it's exactly the same. The one thing I will say is when you tie this, you will see, oh, it leans in one direction. So my knots, I've gone that way around tying it. On the outer circle, go the opposite way around. And then you, otherwise, everything looks like it's leaning. So just, I'm trying to do this so you can see it's harder than when I've got it on my lap. So has anybody been to see the trees yet? The Christmas trees? With the ones that I've done down Hessel Road. I'm going to be doing one on the marina, on Hull Marina as well. Thank you for everyone that gave me, that made trees for me. Trish, Kerry, my anonymous tree donor, Liz as well. Liz made me some gorgeous trees with lovely gold tassels on. Now, when you're doing this, I would take a little bit more time and push them a lot back and put in a few more. It makes it much, much fuller and much nicer. Now with this fabric that I've got here, whilst it has been, it's washed, so it would, I wouldn't, it's not an all-weather one, particularly if I'm going to put pine cones and different things in it. I would say this is probably more of an indoor one to hang on your, maybe your living room door, or once it's illuminated, you can hang it. I think it'd be quite nice with the, have you seen the light up the streets? Oh, you come in to see him tomorrow, Di? Oh, fantastic. I might be around. So the light up this, is it light up Chris, light up some, there's a group. Charlie, if you're on, put the name of the group for me, where they did a huge Facebook group where they decorated the windows for Halloween for the kids, because obviously being in the lockdown at the minute, we're struggling. We can't get out and do the same things. We couldn't trick or treat. Does anyone go Christmas caroling now? I had some kids knock on my door a few years ago at Christmas caroling, and they sang me one verse of "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and I said, "You're not going to get any money if that's all that you've got." So I made them sing 2 Christmas carols, but I did give them money after that. Is that mean? I don't think so. So is it Light Up the Streets North? I will get it on the page, but if you have got one of these, you could put it in your window as like a decoration to illuminate it, and then you can get a number from the group, and then people will drive round and look at the different illuminations in everyone's window, and it's really, they've done it for the kids, and I think that's really lovely. You know, this year it's been a really tough year on so many people for the lockdown and trying to get out and about, and unfortunately we're still in tier 3. Let's hope that will change. So I hope you've all made your masks. I am still making them if people want masks now. I've gone back to making and taking commissions, partly because, well, I will be made redundant in January from my day job, so Right, we're nearly there. Oops. Now I've said that, I can't see what I'm doing. So you can see this is a really nice full fabric that's got quite a lot of body, so it holds its shape. And the other thing as well, you know, this is yours. If you don't like it and it's too long, you can trim it afterwards. So push them all through. There we go. So they're all facing out the right way. You can take a little bit more time than me. Okay. So you've got, I quite like that. It's quite nice and fluffy. This is going up in my house, this one. Do you know, I've made so many of these and never had one. So what you need to do now is you need to add your hanging loop before you put the lights on. Now on these wreaths, you can see these little bars. All you need to do is take a piece, however long you want it, depending on how you want it to hang, double it and just put a knot in the bottom. I found this in my stash. It's quite a nice Hessian type kind of look, and all you need to do is just take it around the bar and thread the knot through the loop and pull it up. Oops, she said. That didn't work very well, did it? There you go. I knew it would work. If you put it through this bar here, it works much better and it balances better when you actually hang it. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. I've got a loop that I've already made. I've got the bar just here. And I'm going to put the loop through the knotted bit. So I've got my hanging loop, okay? Now for your lights, this bit. Now I used to make these where I used to wrap the lights around the frame before I tied everything on. And you can do that if you want to, if you want them really secure. But what I found is if the lights failed, the whole wreath was then unusable. So what I do now, remember the 4 bars that we've got that go all the way around. I only loop them around that. And you'll find, because it's 20, you need 5 lights in each quarter. Okay? Are you with me on that? So I put the battery pack where the hanging loop is, okay? And I just wrap that around. I hope you can see what I'm doing because it's a bit fluffy. I find if you put the battery pack there, it's usually, it can't be seen, okay? And then you can either just, which I've done in the past, just push the lights through. So 5 in each quarter. And then when you get to the bar, you can either wrap the lights around, or you can put a little bit of wire around them and fasten them in. Or you don't have to do that at all. A lot of the times I don't even fasten them in because I might use the lights for something else. So just push them through. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just pushing them through. Remember, 5 in each quarter. You watch me get my sums wrong now. Yeah, I've got my sums wrong. But just for, you know, because I'm doing this live with you, you know what I'm doing here. So you can see a little bit better there that I've pushed the lights through this bit here. Okay. And then you can leave it like that if you want to. Okay. Oops. Get me fluffy bits right. So it's just, I haven't got the lights in the right place, but just for demonstration purposes, you can see how lovely that looks. Now you can have it just like that if you want to, or what I quite like the idea is having a long silver tassel just hanging down the bottom here. I think it will balance it. So I'm going to show you how to make the tassel. Now, the tassel you can do, the length of the tassel, you need to have it wide, so that doesn't make any sense at all. But I know what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I'm looking for. So this book, if you wrap the wool around this length, this width, that's how long your tassel will be. If you want a longer tassel, you can wrap it around there. Okay. So what do you reckon? Shall I have a nice long one or that kind of size? Shall we go long? Let's go for long. So start the tassel, just lay it across the book, hold it at the bottom, and then just wrap it around. Okay. Now, however big you want your tassel, or however thick you want your tassel, depends on how much yarn you load onto the book here. Now you can do these around your hand as well. All the Christmas trees that are on Hessel Road that have got tassels on, they have, that I've made, and how I taught the group that learn on the Facebook Live, I just did it around my hand. It's nice and easy. You can make Pom Poms the same way. That's the other thing. Oh, that'd be nice. Some Pom Poms. Some nice silver Pom Poms. Getting carried away now, aren't I? Now, because I want this quite thick, I'm probably going to wrap this round. What have I done now? Probably about 50 times. I'll probably do about another 20. There we go. So, always end. So I started with the end here. And so the end of the yarn, I started here. And when I actually finish this tassel here, you can see the yarn has ended in the same place. Don't start, because I'm going to tie it here. It'll make more sense when I've done it. I'll explain more. So cut that. And then you need to cut 2 lengths of yarn. Now, one of them needs to be double the length of the, whatever you've wrapped around. So double the length for the book for me. And I'll show you why when I use that. And then the other one doesn't have to be as long unless you want to make a double loop, which I'm going to do because this yarn's quite thin. Then what you do, take your yarn, slide it underneath one side of the yarn. Can you see that? And slide it up to the top. Okay. So you can see now my yarn is at the top here. Then slide the yarn off, and this is why you need a thick book, because otherwise it can bend and you end up with different lengths. So you can see what I've got now is almost like a skein of yarn. Then taking this at the top, you need to tie once and tie it tightly. Can you see how tight that is? So make sure you tie it tightly too. Okay, and this is also your hanging loop. So taking the yarn, just do a simple over knot through. Okay, don't make this hanging loop too small because you're going to attach it using the loop by threading it through. So if it's too small, you won't get the tassel through and you'll have a nightmare. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make the head of the tassel. Now, normally you wouldn't have the head more than 1/3 of the actual length of the tassel. But, you know, there's no rules really. It's up to you, it's your tassel. So let me move that out of the way. So this is, so I've found the middle of the piece of yarn. Take it where you want the head of the tassel to be. and tie. And tie tightly. Once, twice. And then just to be extra secure, I like to go around again, around the other side, and tie once, twice. Just simple over knots. And the reason you've got that extra length is because you don't cut it off and you don't have little bits sticking out. So what you need to do now is to make the tassel is just cut the loops. So take your scissors, slide them in and just pull gently. Hold the head and pull gently to get an even cut. Just check for more loops. Again, put your scissors through, just pull gently and cut. Okay, and then you need to give it a haircut so it's nice and even. Well, I like to give them a haircut. It's up to you, really. And there you've got a lovely silver tassel. Just trim off the excess yarn above the knot on the loop. Okay, so then how you're going to attach it, I'll show you on a wreath so you can see it clearly. Again, so the top here is where we've got the hanger, where the wire is here. So we're going to do the same here, but just slightly to one side. What you need to do, you can see I've pulled the yarn through here. So it's over. Okay. And then you're going to take the tassel. This is why I said don't make the loop too small. And you're going to push it through the loop. There you go. And it's attached. Okay, so I'll just take that off and I'll put it on the white wreath. That hanging loop could really have done to be just a little bit bigger. It would have made it a little bit easier, particularly if you're not used to using tassels. So it's not going to be very clear whilst I'm doing this. So I found the hanger at the top. So I'm working with the wire just at the bottom here. There you go. You can see that, can't you? That's better. Take the loop behind and over. Open it up and push the tassel through. Okay. Push that over. And there you've got, oh, I quite like that. What do you think? Yeah, could have definitely done with the loop being a little bit longer, I think, to see the tassel. Now, if you want to add more trimmings, how do I make my pom-poms? Let me finish this and I'll show you how I make them, Susan. They're really easy. I'm glad you like the tassels. Now, if you want to add decorations, it's totally up to you. Okay, I think if I was going to put anything on this, I would probably do the mushroom. And all I would do is take it, move the fabric to one side. Using the wire, I will just attach it. And just basically wrapping it around, you can tie it on with a bit of string. I just find wire, it makes things much easier. Okay, and then just push the fabric back around. And you've got a little toadstool, and you can then decorate it with a pine cone if you want. I think for me personally, for this one, I just like the tassel and the lights. So this is going to hang on my door. I'm definitely going to have one this year. So there you go. That's an illuminated rag wreath. Obviously you'd spread your lights out much better than mine. Using a recycled fabric. But if you was doing this in a crystal organza, you could do it in red. It would look lovely in red. You could, there are people that have done them so it's red across there, and then there's a white bit so it looks like Santa's hat. There's a lot, so you can get really, really creative with it. But I will put those lights in better and send you a picture of when it's completely done. Oh, that's brilliant, Susan. So the Pom Poms, I do them a few different ways. I use the Pom Pom makers that you get, the plastic ones that open in half, are fantastic. You can work that way as well. But the simplest way is, make sure you've got, if you're going to do whatever you tie around the middle of the pom-pom, make sure it's really strong. Okay, if you're using a fluffy yarn or an eyelash yarn, because you can use anything to make pom-poms, don't use that. The yarn has got to be strong. So if you're struggling to break it, it's ideal. So cut yourself a piece of yarn first. And then I'm just going to make one that goes around my hand. So you need to really, the more yarn you have, the fuller your pom-pom will be. You can make, when I make the pom-pom rugs, I don't make them that full because they're on a flat backing, so it pushes everything up. But if you're not, if it's like a decoration or something like that, make sure you've got plenty of fabric, plenty of yarn even around your hand. Okay, so let's have a go with this one. So I'm doing this ad hoc. Then what you need to do is lay your yarn down. Let me make sure you can see. Okay, and then take off this yarn that you've got around your hand, this yarn, and you can see I've straightened it out. Okay, and then lay the middle of this onto your yarn, your piece of yarn that you've got. And you need to get it in the middle because it's quite important, otherwise you're going to have to do a lot of trimming to get your pom-pom right. Watch what you're doing at the same time though. And then just tie. And you're going to have to tie really tightly. Okay. But if you don't tie this tightly, it will come undone and you will have a pom-pom that sheds. And keep going. You need to do this tying a couple of times, because otherwise you just won't get it tight enough. And this is the crucial thing about these pom-poms. When you make them like this, you get this bit tight, because what you can see each time I've tied it a little bit tighter, can you see it started to spread out? And that's what you need. That means you've got enough yarn in there, so when you was wrapping it around your finger. Okay, so make sure it's nice and tight. Sometimes I'll use a button cotton to do this, or the other really, really good thing is the proper dental floss, because that is super strong and it works really well. Then what you need to do, just like the tassels, get your scissors in and just gently tug it, so you right at the, so when you do that, it means the loops are evenly across your scissors. Okay, and cut again. Make sure you've got all the loops cut, and then turn it over. Okay, and do the same the other side. Just pull up gently with the scissors. Make sure you've cut through all the loops. Okay. So then all you need to do is give it a little bit of a trim. Now this the trimming takes a bit of practice, because I've ended up with tiny pom-poms because I've got a bit carried away. Okay, so you've got a tiny pom-pom. Ta-da! You can trim it even more. I quite like them fluffy. And the other good thing that you can do, if you've got a really thick chunky yarn, like what I use for the snowmen, the snow gnomes here, you can actually get a brush or a comb and brush it and make it really fuzzy as well. Is that all right, Susan? Takes a bit of practice to make sure you've got the right amount of yarn on it. And you don't even have to do it around your hand. You can do it just like around a book. Or use the pom-pom makers, or you can actually cut a U shape with 2 pieces of cardboard. What I'll do is I think there is a tutorial already on pom-poms, but I will do another one as well if you'd like me to, and I'll show you the different ways that you can make them, and you can make tiny pom-poms using a fork as well. Well, that's it from me tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will be back on Thursday on Groundwork Hull, and I will be doing sock gnomes and sock snowmen family workshop. So if you've missed that one or you want to have a look at some of it's not the Santa ones, it's just these little cheeky ones here. It's a family workshop, so it'll be repeated. So in the morning we will do gnomes, and in the afternoon, in the evening at, I think it's about 6, we'll be doing sock snowmen. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you'll go and have a look at the trees. There is time if you want to submit some trees, snowflakes, or whatever it is that you've got to go on the tree. I can still get them on the trees for the next week or so. So if you've got anything for me, do let me know, and we'll figure out a way to get that to me from you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you spending time with me. And I will be back. I can't even remember the next workshop I said I would do, but there is going to be one. So keep your eyes peeled. I will get it up in the next couple of days. But until then, stay safe. Oh, you're welcome, Lorraine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's always good to see everyone, and I love your comments, so thank you so much. And if anyone who's talked to me in the last week whilst I've been putting the trees up, it's been lovely to meet you, and I hope you're here, and I hope you'll spend more time with us as well and become part of the Maker Crew. But that's it from me this evening. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Stay safe, and I will see you very soon. Bye.